So I thought today I would talk about why do people settle for a mediocre life? My wife and I, Jean, we just got back from a 6-day, 5-night cruise in the Caribbean. And it was very interesting. It was a boat that had about 3,500 people on it, along with a crew of about 1,200. And we observed. And we observed the difference of lifestyle that people have. And I do really believe that people do settle. And so I want to explore that with you. But first, before we can talk about it, we've got to discern what is settling. Settling is when we accept something less than what we believe we deserve or desire. So ask yourself, do you accept less? One of the things that when we went on the cruise, Jean and I purchased this little thing called the key. It's a special status on Royal Caribbean. And with the key, what it does is it gives you priority boarding. You're the first one on the boat. It gives you a priority lunch that no one else gets because you're on the boat. It also gives you priority seating, special seating at any of the events. It gets you expanded internet. And it's an additional cost. So when I was sharing that with Jean, of course we said we're going to get it. Why? Because we deserve it. And in reality, we need it. Because while I was on the cruise, I still did my morning guided meditations with people, and I still did my morning talk with people. So it was a benefit to me. I was not willing to settle. It's like, would I settle for a room on the inside of the ship with no windows for $100? Or would I get the room where I have a balcony overlooking the ocean? I chose the balcony over the ocean. I'm not going to settle when I know I deserve more. You see, I believe we've been domesticated to believe that compromise is the best and that we should always take the safe route. Do you realize that when you compromise, what you're saying is both people lose? Did you get that? If you're in a relationship, say, let's compromise. That means I've got to give up something and you've got to give up something. Well, you know what? I'm not going to settle. I'm going to find a way through collaboration, which is the process of finding out how we can both win. Settling is compromising. Winning is finding a way where you collaborate and both people win. Then you've got the other aspect of play it safe. I'm not a huge risk taker, but I'm constantly taking little risks. Little risks toward what I want that would be a big risk. And by taking a little risk, I'm out of my comfort zone, but I am creating. And that's the nature, I believe, of all that we are, is to create our lives. So I take a little risk and do this, and then I take a little risk on top of that. By the time I've done and I look back, it was an absolutely huge risk. I was saying to someone, I said, with career, I'm not a risk taker. And that person said, well, let me stop you for a second, Lee. You left the corporate world when you were 54 years of age? You had one son as a junior in college, one son entering college as a freshman, and you were now going to start and get a master's degree, giving up your corporate job? 2/3 of your income, your wife would be the breadwinner? And you did that? And you spent 3 years getting a master's degree, and then what did you do? You decided to create your own spiritual center and start from scratch? That was a huge risk. But you know what? It didn't feel like a risk to me. It felt natural. So I went, and my mom and dad were telling me, you can't do that. You need to get another corporate job. And I bought in for a while. While I was going to school, I would continue interviewing. And then finally, I was coming back from an interview. I was flying home and I said, what am I doing? This is not where I want to go. This is not where my life needs to be at this time. And I put it aside. And so it wasn't a risk at it wasn't a risk to me at that point. So I want to talk to you about what are the main factors that cause us to settle. The first one is fear. Fear we don't have enough information, fear that I'm not enough, fear that I'm going to fail, fear that this is beyond my capability. Fear can be beneficial. It can cause you to be more cautious. I'd rather be cautious than fearful. But fear holds us back from so many things. You gotta really say, is it real? The next thing is that in order to deal with fear is the factor that causes us to settle is ignorance of our power. We've been domesticated in thinking that the government is our source, the church is our source, the business is our source. No. Your power to think, your power of what you believe in, knowing that your beliefs create, that's your power. And when you start to test the power of your beliefs, and you test it and you find that it works, you're no longer ignorant of that power. You understand it and you can now use it. So what would stop you from using that power? A lack of self-worth. You don't believe you're worthy. You've been domesticated again to believe that you're not worthy of more. Who do you think you are? My mother said that to me. Who do you think you are that you can be a spiritual teacher? What gives you the right, gives you the information? Inside, I knew. I knew I was worthy. I knew I had information. I had gifts to give. And my mother, before she died, said, I'm sorry. I should have seen it in you. I now see that you do have it. You see, I didn't get my self-worth from my mom, my dad. I got my self-worth from Lee. Now you need to get your self-worth, not from Lee, but from you. The other thing that causes us to settle is the domestication in the desire to please others, to give up your dreams, to give up what's right for you, so that you can live up to the expectations of others. Let me just be really clear. You weren't brought here. You aren't here to please anyone. You're here to create a life that gives you a sense of deep fulfillment. And if you get past all of those, the fear, the ignorance of power, the lack of self-worth, the desire to please others, here's the thing that'll hold you back. A lack of imagination. We've been so domesticated to not think beyond the boundaries of what we've been taught. Not to imagine a better life. Not to imagine a life with not to imagine a greater relationship. I'm in my 52nd year of marriage. And I believe there's more. That Jean and I can have a marriage of more. And I imagine what that would be like. When we went on the recent cruise that we were on, we went on it for one reason, to spend time with each other. It wasn't about doing anything in particular. It was just getting away and being with each other. Now, we spend time every day reading our own stuff. I would do things separately from her. But it was time. We imagined, what would it be like to be connected and yet give each other the freedom away from our daily life. And we came back so rejuvenated, so much alive that we shared all these things. Both of us did spiritual reading and talked about how we would expand. And we're doing that now because we imagined it. The final thing I'll probably talk about here is the factor that stops us from, it makes us settle, is our inability to embrace change. Let me just say, change is constant. It's going to be there no matter what you do. That was quite evident on the last full day of sailing while we were on our cruise. We were sailing and we came into some bad weather, lightning and thunderstorms, to the point where they were greater than anything the captain of our ship had ever experienced. I mean, on our boat, which was a huge, huge boat, in the casino, slot machines fell on top of someone. Dishes, glasses breaking everywhere. The outer chairs, water coming completely out of the pool. We were confined to our rooms. Jean and I didn't make that a distraction. We used it to continue reading. We meditated for an hour and a half in the midst of the storm. We used the time and we didn't settle because of what was happening. We imagined, what could we do in this time and make our lives better? And finally, it's about a personal commitment. Are you committed to living your greatest life? If you are, then fear will disappear. Ignorance of your power will disappear. Lack of self-worth will disappear. You will have a vivid imagination, and you'll embrace change because you're committed to being the highest expression of you that you can ever imagine. And so, when we confront our fears, when we challenge our limiting beliefs, when we use our imagination, when we give up the need to please others, when we know our true power and self-worth and embrace change, we break free of the life that we've settled for, and we begin to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling to us. I know that when I let go of this body at some point in the future, and I'm doing an evaluation of my life, all I care about is, do I feel fulfilled? And did I live my greatest life? It's time that we give up settling. It's time where we embrace our power and we stair-step our life forward. You're not going to see a quantum leap, but if you start to stair-step improvement after improvement after improvement in what you discern is an improvement in your life, at the end of 1 year, it'll be incredible. At the end of 10 years, it'll be beyond anything you could even imagine. But here's the key thing. You have to decide, I'm worthy, and I now commit to the most expansive, joyous, loving, caring, abundant, healthy life ever. I know you can do it because the power is in you, because I know the power is in me.